Hello, and welcome to Working at Home with Kids. Welcome to this webinar. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Erin Frost, and I am the Learning and Development Business Partner for the Adecco Group, UK and Ireland. Not only am I, of course, currently in self-isolation, but I am in self-isolation with my husband and children. I'm not going to lie, this is uncharted territory for all of us. So first off, I think my first bit of advice would be kind to yourself. I'm currently working at home with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old who would barely behave for me just to take this photo. So we're all doing the best that we can. And to continue to do great work, we just have to work within our limitations. So today we're going to be looking at how to talk to your children about COVID-19, how to create a daily routine and the importance of that, creating or understanding our expectations and then making sure that they're realistic, and creating workspaces. So this, first off, is guidance for children of all ages, and then I'll go into different age groups. But the first thing to do, irregardless of what age your child is to really look and control your own anxiety. Many of us are worried about the current situation, and living with uncertainty is not easy. Yet we have to remember that anxiety is contagious. Your kids will know that you are nervous even if you try to hide it. So how can you keep your cool despite your own worries? One way to understand and to reflect on your own anxiety is to know that anxiety and fear will drive us to try to control. It will make us want to control even more so than we probably do normally. And that's because we're looking for some aspect of our lives and all of this uncertainty that we can mold, we can shape. But when it comes to our own children, that can be quite upsetting for them because right now they're scared as well. And although a routine is good, we just need to be a bit more flexible, and we need to go along with the moods of our children as well, consider their well-being. So how can we create an environment where we can acknowledge our fears, we can acknowledge our emotions, but we can make our children feel supported. So to control your own anxiety, it's really important to make sure that you're listening or limiting really your interaction with the news, social media. Just look for information sort of like from the World Health Organization, from sites that will offer you facts. And then again, looking at what you can control. So you can't control what is going on outside of you, but you can control how you manage your reaction to it. So it's looking at, you can acknowledge, of course, how you're feeling, and if your children ask you, you can say, yes, I am anxious or I am worried. Of course, our kids will know if we're not telling them the truth. You can say things like, yes, I'm worried about the virus, but I know that there are ways to prevent its spread and take care of the family if one of us gets sick. So just, again, reassuring your children. Ask what they know. So if your child is, well, depending on their age, they might already have some information, but we need to understand the information that they actually have. So, of course, most children have heard about COVID-19, particularly school-age kids and adolescents. They may have read things online or seen something on TV or heard friends or teachers talk about it. They may have overheard you talking about it. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. So don't assume that they know specifics about the situation or that the information they have is correct. Use this as an opportunity to ask your kids some open-ended questions. So you could ask, what have you heard about coronavirus? Or where did you hear that? What are your major concerns or worries? Or do you have any questions I can help you answer? Or how are you feeling about the virus? Just again, and you may think that, yes, I've already asked these questions. Ask them again, because actually our kids, like us, are going through a roller coaster of emotions and different feelings, and they'll need constant reassurance, but they'll also maybe need to have their information checked again and again, so to make sure that it's not their fear that's driving some of their understanding. And of course, we want to validate their feelings and concerns. So kids will have all sorts of reactions. Some may be realistic, while others might be exaggerated. So we want to just make sure that our children understand, maybe they've heard that older adults get sick, or they get sicker, so they might be worried about their grandparents. So again, we want to make them aware that this, yes, of course, this is a valid concern, But you can reassure them that grandma has the best medical care to manage the illness. Or you might have a child that's worried for their animals. So again, it's just about reassuring them that it's okay, that our pets will not get the virus. There's no need to worry about this. But again, never make them feel silly for these questions. It's just about saying, I know that must be upsetting for you, or I can tell you're upset about this, and then reassure them. Be available for questions, so allow them to give them the opportunity to ask you any questions they may have. Let them know that you're there to not only listen, but to give them, well, as honest as you can response. Empower them by modeling behavior. So as you're feeling anxious, they might be feeling anxious too. So what control can you give them? We'll let them know that the things that they control are how they wash their hands, or they're keeping surfaces clean. So let them be involved in that and say, have we washed our hands? How are we keeping the house clean? Let's wipe down some surfaces to make sure that the virus is all cleaned up. So allow them to be part of that process. And of course, just provide constant reassurance. They're going to be worried, and just remind them of other situations that you as a family have overcome. So anytime that they felt helpless and scared, what did you do previously? Kids love family stories, and these narratives carry a lot of emotional weight. So try something like, remember when we lost power and we had to use candles for 3 days? Or remember when the pipes burst in the house and we were flooded? So remind them that they have been through challenging times before, and though everyone was distressed, everyone also worked together and got through it. So reliving these kinds of narratives help the whole family to build a resilience and hope. So if you have any of those family stories to share, remind them of them. So now let's look specifically at ages, so age groups. So what can we do for ages 2 to 6? So this is where my kids are. So we've really limited, when I say turn off the TV, computers, and smart speakers, I mean turn off the news or anything that may be upsetting. Of course, we cannot live right now without cartoons or movies, but make sure that what they're watching, the content that they're watching is appropriate and won't scare them further. This is something I had to be really aware of, is being careful when talking about the situation. So my husband and I have had a few conversations which have been overheard when I thought they were playing a game, and they were actually listening very intently. So again, just maybe not talking about it when the kids are up, waiting until they've gone to bed. And younger kids, they're gonna need a lot more TLC and cuddles. So just again, it doesn't matter how old your children are, just give them the opportunity to cuddle with you, to feel secure, to let them know that they're loved and that everything is okay. A lot of our kids might be regressing a bit. I know certainly my 3-year-old is throwing a lot more tantrums. She's very confused. So I'm just trying to be more patient and know that this is not her behaving badly. It's just how she's acting out to the situation. She doesn't know how else to respond. And as I said before, make preventative measures such as washing hands or wiping surfaces a playful game. Get them involved. So ages 7 to 12. So kids in primary school can understand more about contagious diseases. So explain that the germs causing COVID-19 are like the ones that cause a cold. Remind them that these illnesses can spread easily, but they can also be prevented. So again, we can talk about washing hands, using tissues. Kids this age really thrive on routine. So we want to try to keep daily schedules as typical as always. So let them be involved in that routine as well, I think. So your normal routine would probably be get up, have breakfast, have showers, get dressed. So, you know, you can keep that the same. You're not going to be leaving the house, but you can keep that morning activity the same. And then looking at how you can perhaps add in some learning activities for them if they haven't already had some specified by their school. One thing to be aware of is that younger school age kids cope with their fears through play. So if you notice them playing hospital or I guess acting out a scenario about the virus or being separated from friends, this is good. This is a way that they're dealing with their emotions and their fears. So this is a good sign that they're learning to cope. And some school age kids will become more clingy and demanding. And again, as I spoke about before, regression is a way of expressing fear. So we might think, why are they acting like this? Or this is frustrating. But remember that it's not because they are perhaps trying to be naughty. I mean, in some cases they might be, but it might also be the only way they know how to express their fear. So again, just be patient, have a conversation with them and ask them why they're behaving the way they're behaving and what is it that they need from you. And again, turn off the TV, you know, to news and any other news media or social media that might, again, be upsetting or be misinformed. So adolescents and young adults. So of course, they probably already have a lot of information. They're probably well aware of what is happening because they've been looking at it on social media. So look, they will be at this age watching the news perhaps or going online. So ask if you can sit down with them and look at what they're looking at, watch the news with them and answer any questions that they may have. As I said, social media can share a lot of misinformation. It can be a way to increase our fear and our anxiety. So be there for those discussions and allow, again, your kids to come to you and ask you questions. But if you can, as much as possible, try to look at these sites together. And then include teens and young adults in the effort to protect and help the family as a whole. So help them, ask them to help you create routines, ask them to help you, how can we keep the younger children entertained, or can you help me set up a menu for the week? Any way to get them involved in the process of running the house, creating their own routine. So saying, look, I feel that you're an adult enough to create your own routine for schoolwork and what you need to get done. What do you think? Can we plan it together? Can we look at it together? So again, get them involved in planning their day. My husband and I have found, and with this constant change that's going on and the uncertainty, it's easier to plan in 24-hour chunks. So instead of trying to plan long-term, which is just impossible at this time because things can change hourly, if not daily, just look the night before and plan the following. So look at what time you have Skype or virtual meetings or phone calls. So when do you need to be supported? Perhaps your partner needs to look after the kids, and so hopefully you can have some uninterrupted work time. What are some deadlines for you? What do you want to plan for your kids? So maybe outlining some activities. What time is lunch? So what time do you want to break for lunch? When are you going to sign off for the day together? If one person's going to work later and the other person's going to leave earlier, so just so that you know, again, that you can support each other. And of course, the most important, when are you going to plan exercise? So when are you going to get those kids outside? And when are you going to get outside as well? You need to prioritize your exercise as well. So here's just a sample routine, and we broke it down into care, work, and socialization. So care is like showering, getting dressed. We've really tried to, where possible, have lunch together, because I think, again, look, we've got this opportunity to spend time together and to really spend time as a family. So let's make the most of it. We try to have lunches, a picnic outside if possible. Kids exercise, so what are they going to do? Sometimes I just leave them outside with a hose, and that seems to create 45 minutes of play. So work, so breaking up your day. Actually, my husband and I start work a lot earlier now. We've changed a lot in the past few weeks. We start work between 6 and 7, try to get as much done before the day really starts, so that we can break up the day and take care of the kids at different times. And then kids work. Probably if I were doing this webinar at the beginning, I'd say yes, prioritize children's schoolwork, really create a good routine around schoolwork. But actually, I think I'm 5 weeks in now. I think it's more important to, yes, create some activities dependent on their age, but don't stress yourselves out. Don't get into a situation where everyone is hating the time that you're spending together and nobody is enjoying themselves. And a lot of child psychologists have also reflected on this and said, look, we can't all become teachers overnight. Just do your best. But this is short term. This is not long term. So we're just going to have to be flexible and go with the flow. Socialization. So Nana and Papa, so Skype calls with their grandparents. My mom reads them a bedtime story via FaceTime. Have a cup of tea with a neighbor. So literally we're just obviously cups of tea in our own homes, and then we're just shouting over the fence. But any way we can get the kids socializing, and also for ourselves as well. What we do here in the UK is the clapping on a Thursday, and to celebrate the NHS and all they're doing. And I think my children now absolutely love that, and they want to do clapping every night. But again, it's an opportunity just to see other faces across the street, which is very exciting. So one thing I will say, and one thing I've noticed, is that when you schedule an activity or a focus, it's really important that you give your whole attention to that one thing. So I really, really struggled with having all of my worlds meet. And by that, I mean work life, family life, kids, husband, home life, all of these different activities where I have to be doing all of these different things, and they've suddenly collided. And now I have a lot of different responsibilities pulling me in different directions. So that I don't feel so stressed all day. When I now have an activity, I focus just on that activity. So for example, I tried to watch the kids and answer emails, but I was finding that the kids weren't getting the attention they needed, and they were getting upset and ratty, and I wasn't really paying enough attention to my work. So now I just spend time with the kids or I work. And when I do that one activity, I just focus on that one thing as much as possible. And that way I feel that I'm doing the best that I can, either with my children or the best that I can with my work. And it just makes me feel a lot better and not pulled in so many different directions. So just some realistic expectations. So one thing that we do need to be is open and honest about your challenges. So if you're having a webinar or a conference call, just be open and honest and say, look, I've got 2 kids at home, or I've got 5 kids at home, or I've got a child here. He's 2 and he's going to need some attention. Everybody's been, in my experience, very supportive and very open and honest, and that's made it feel a lot better. Focus on what you can do. Don't reflect on all the things you'd like to be able to do. Just focus on what you can do and do that your best. Have activities prepared, or I have little snacks hidden around the house where I like to do my conference calls. So if I do get interrupted, I can quickly say, oh, here's a treat, or here's a bag of crisps. Mommy just needs 15 more minutes, and that really helps me, especially if it's an important meeting. Of course, any parent, I don't need to really say this, but take advantage of nap time. So if you can get the work done, do it during nap time, and then spend the rest of the time playing. Be flexible and stay calm. So again, it's about flexibility. It's about knowing your limitations and not focusing on what you can't do, but just focusing on what you can. Some things that are in our don't list are don't pretend things are normal. You're not going to be able to do the same level of work or have the same output. It's not possible. So don't be hard on yourself and try to do that, because you'll just burn yourself out. Don't try to become a teacher overnight. It's impossible. Can't happen. But you can think of fun games that you can play, or activities where learning can be a focus, or just read with your kids. Reading is a phenomenal way to just spend some quality time together and also educate your children. Don't try to do it all. Again, it's just not possible. And don't feel guilty about the kids watching TV now. Although I go in waves, but sometimes I feel very guilty, and sometimes I think, oh, what else can I do? We're just trying to get some work done and work in the situation. Again, it's short term, so we want to be able to do the best that we can. And lastly, establishing blue zones. So finding and carving out a place for you to work. So this is important. You want to make sure that you have a little place that's yours where you can get some work done that feels like a workplace and doesn't feel like, oh, this is where I relax and this is where I work and this is where I sleep. So try to, if possible, not work in your bedroom. Try to find a little part of the living room, or I know some people have done conference calls from their car. Just try to find a little place that you can establish as your work zone that is yours, where you can keep some pen and paper, you can keep your laptop plugged in, and that's where you go to work. So for example, I'm using my daughter's room because she doesn't really play in her bedroom, but it means that when I leave this room, I know that my work is done, and then I can focus on the other parts of my life that I need to focus on. There are so many online resources, and I've just added 2 very, very quickly here because I have the Twinkle code here, but there are so many online resources. If you just tap in online learning resources for children, there's so many free trials, 1-month trials, 1-week trials, for you to be able to try a lot of different learning resources. So again, take advantage of those, or ask your kids to help you find something good that they would love to do or enjoy. Gosh, if they enjoy it, then half the battle is over. But again, don't put too much pressure on yourself if it's not working and they don't want to focus too much on schoolwork. Just do what you can. And again, this is short term. We just need to try to get through this situation really as a team, as a family. Thank you very much for listening to this webinar today. As I said, my name is Erin Frost, and I am the Learning and Development Business Partner for the Adecco Group. Yeah, thank you very much, and I hope that you and your families take care.